Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Latin Women in Action podcast. My name is Joselin. I'm a social work intern from CUNY York College. Today we welcome Ms. Haydee Zambrana, the Executive Director of Latin Women in Action. Welcome, Ms. Zambrana.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm all right, thanks.
Ms. Zambrana, would you like to tell us about your personal history?
Sure. Yes, I was born in Puerto Rico. I came to the United States around age 12. I was raised here, went to school, college. I come from a big family, 10 members in my family. I have 2 daughters, 6 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. And so I came to the United States and everything turned out okay.
That's good to hear. I was born to immigrant parents from the Dominican Republic as well.
All right.
From the Caribbean.
Good. My 3 granddaughters are also from Dominican Republic. I mean, they were born here, but the parent is Dominican.
That's great to hear. Ms. Zambrana, what inspired you to be involved in social services?
Well, I'll tell you, I used to work in the 60s with different entities. Finally, I ended up a job with attorneys. The attorney that I worked with, he was dealing with workers' compensation, and a lot of Hispanics, mainly from Queens, used to go to him. And of course, I was trained by him. I became a licensed, the first Latina woman to be licensed, accredited with the workers' compensation, New York State Workers' Compensation, Section 24 or something. And I started working with immigrants, and they would ask me so many different things that were not related to the workers' compensation injury. And I started saying, what's going on? Why are they asking me instead of going to different organizations? So I started investigating, and I realized that there was not a single Hispanic organization in the borough of Queens. So I went ahead and I started looking for leaders in the community. I identified a few, and along came, we created a group of 12 people, created a nonprofit organization for which I directed for about 20 years. And in 1989, I left that entity. We had some problems with the entity. And then after that, I started Latin Women in Action in 1990. And here we are.
It's great to hear, Ms. Zambrana. Ms. Zambrana, what social services are offered by Latin Women in Action?
When we started the organization, we continued to provide the services that I was serving at the other entity that I had started, which were immigration services, unemployment, housing, you name it. We were the only organization in Queens. So we had to offer everything that everyone needed, and whatever we did not know, we started identifying other entities that were English speaking only, or they have bilingual interpreters there, and we would then make referrals to the other entities because people started coming like crazy.
Okay. So would you say that not only Hispanics would come to you to ask for services so that you could provide services for them?
Right. No, at the beginning when we had Latin Women in Action in the 1990s, we had people from all walks of life. The different countries. I used to speak some Italian, a little bit Portuguese. So they would come to us, especially Portuguese would come to us. They knew a little Spanish, I knew a little Portuguese, so somehow we knew each other, we understood each other, so we were able to provide those services.
Oh, okay. Well, do you still believe that after so many years of helping people, do you still believe that in the western part of Queens, there's still, let's say, like obstacles?
Oh, definitely. If we're talking about 1990 to 2023, so many years, right? And yet, we can count the number of organizations that exist that are Latinas in Queens. There should be an organization, Hispanic owned or Hispanic directed, in housing, employment, mental health, social services, anything that you can think of, it should be already a nonprofit, which there are so many in English, like Encore and so many others, Sanctuary for Families, Queen's Family, Safe Horizon, and so on. And yet, Hispanics, we only know of Latin Women in Action. Then we have Voces Latinas, and a few others. And we're talking about since 1990, even since 1960s. There was nothing, and nothing has emerged that we can say, wow, great, we can refer this organization or that organization for the different services that people have. It is still an obstacle, the language barrier that our people have, especially since this new administration, where we have had, hundreds of thousands of people coming in, new immigrants that do not know the law, that do not know how to get by, and we need those services, and yet we don't have the organizations.
Yes, that's a good thing that I see, that many people that come here. I don't live by a hotel, but I pass when I'm driving. I'm driving home. I'm driving home from work, from school. I see this hotel in Northern Boulevard, and you see a lot of immigrants with children, just sitting on the floor, sitting on the sides of the hotel, and to me, it's not upsetting, because anybody, you can see like a homeless person sitting on the border, like on the corner of the street, or anywhere in the street. But to see children, I see this aspect that should be brought to attention when there's immigrants involved and children as well. So I see that this would be still a barrier for people, like you said, language barriers. Many of these people that come from immigrants are obviously not English speaking, and this is a country that's based on English speaking. If you don't know the language, you're gonna have lots of barriers.
Yes. Well, let me tell you. I told you about the immigration services, but we have always been well known for our focus on domestic violence. And when we talk about domestic violence, it's not just for the Hispanics that live here, but the newcomers, and they bring their culture here. And in many of our countries, domestic violence is prevalent. So we offer those services. And as you say, I'm not upset. I'm upset to see that so many hundreds of thousands of people have arrived, that other states like Florida and Texas and whoever is anti-immigrant, it's throwing those people into New York City, especially New York City, because we don't see them going upstate or any other place, but basically New York City. And it's overcrowding. We're creating a little war among ourselves, our Hispanics of the different countries. It's unacceptable. What are the other organizations doing? Who is doing what? And where are the elected officials in this? It's pitiful.
So would you say this is an accomplishment you want? This is like a goal you want to succeed in?
I cannot say that is my goal. It's my goal to see identifying someone that is going to take the lead to do something about it. At this point in my life within the organization, I'm almost, like they say, not on the way out, but with less resources than we had. Remember that the pandemic came, and we used to be big in Corona. Now we're not in Corona anymore. We're in Queens Village, and that has impacted a lot in terms of the limitations that we have, funding and the distance and whatnot. So we're not able to help as much as we would like to, because we don't have the staff that we used to have to be able to help those immigrants that would need our help. And so, but who's doing it? There's Make the Road. I don't know if the funding is out there, because we don't have funding from the government. We operate on our own. We have no funding, but those that have funding are limited, and everybody's sending other people to us as if we had funding we can only refer people, and sometimes we have to say, okay, well, go back to this place because they're supposed to help you, they get funding. However, even with the funding, they're overwhelmed because funding goes only so far. And if you already use the funding that you have to help X number of people, then you can only say, no, we can help. And so that's why you see the kids and the parents on the streets, maybe begging, maybe just sitting there and idle, just waiting for something to happen. Who's helping them? Who's coming out to help them?
That's an interesting aspect, that you see the broad picture of what's actually going on today. Yes. Not like, let's say, oh, we need this, we need that. No, you're seeing what is happening in the Latin community. Yes. Right now, especially with children's mothers. As you said, domestic violence, immigrants that come here as well, fleeing yes. from persecution or fleeing from somebody who they feel is a danger to them.
Yes.
So, what would you like to see more of in the community?
I'd like to see more Latinas and Latinos getting involved, becoming involved in the community, but actually advocating, doing some action-oriented, opportunities to help the people. I know that there are many churches, there are many groups that are doing A, B, C, D, but they're not being seen as well. Like I said, where are the Hispanic organizations in Queens? You have a few social entities. These are like the cultural that come from, let's say, Colombia or Ecuador, the different social entities, but those are party organizations. They're not so many of them are social oriented to help in housing and employment and immigration and family matters, custody, child abuse, and so on and so on. We don't have Latino organizations like that. One specifically that says, okay, this one is for housing, this one is for domestic violence only. We have VIP, we have, like I said, Voices Latinas, which deals with HIV and domestic violence, and Comadres, and a few other programs that, big, but is not as well distributed to be able to help everyone, because I don't know if they do immigration itself, and so there are a lot of barriers from our people, especially now. If we're talking, let's say that 200,000 people came in the last 2 years, where are they going? Who's helping them? What's happening with all the different services that I just mentioned? Who's doing it? There are a lot of attorneys that people go to provide or to seek legal advice. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. People are getting ripped off. Immigration even sends warning letters of be careful of those people that are going to be, or that are committing fraud or promising something that is not there. So there's a lot that has to be done. I feel that we have more need now than we had in the 1960s, because there are so many more Hispanics, but there's so little help. And funding? Forget it. I mean, where are the foundations? They don't even think of the Latino community. They see the problems and they do nothing. There's not a single foundation that I can say that is helping Hispanics in the borough of Queens, because that's where the majority of the population has come in. Where are they? Where are the city funding? Where's the state funding, the federal funding? Congresswoman Ocasio, there's a deadline for applying for funding through her. And all of the elected officials, they get a certain amount of monies every single year to help their constituents. Where are they? Where are the entities that they're helping? Or are they helping themselves? I don't know. I cannot accuse anyone, but it would be good if they would say, hey, I'm going to announce these are the number of people and the number of entities that we have helped this year, and this entity attended and helped X number of people with the monies that we gave them. We would like to see that. The borough president's office. Every elected official has a budget to help the communities, and I just don't know, I don't hear how they're being helped. Their budget to deal with problems on the streets or housing or anything else is one thing. There are capital budgets, but then the budgets that they are allotted to give to the nonprofits, how is it spent? Which community knows about it? So those are my questions.
It's really upsetting.
Yes.
You sound really upsetting as well. Really upset, sorry.
Uh,
So, what would you like the youth community like me, around my age, to be involved in?
Wow, you just
Especially
hit
being
right on.
born from immigrant parents as well.
Okay, you just hit right on the nail, which is you have the power, and everyone your age and the Gen Z population has the ability to change this country, to change the next president of the United States. Did you know that? Did you know that? Yes, you do have that power.
I know that. I know that, but I feel like there's many people, especially around my age, that aren't involved in politics at all.
No, they are involved in the computer. They are involved in their phone. I mean, they're on that phone and the TikTok and the Instagram and the Facebook and whatever else they do. And you know what? Very few are looking at what's happening politically in this country and how we can improve, how can we move forward, how can we create the power that we need to say, here we are, and they have to listen to us. And we have to once and for all stop being the next generation of slaves, because I feel that we have reached that point where the Latinos in this country are the next slaves of this society.
To add on that note, Ms. Zambrana, I say that I am involved, and I will be involved in the next elections. You know why?
Tell me.
Because my parents and most of my family are all immigrants. Some of them are even came here illegally, and they feel like slaves, stuck at work in this country. If
wow.
they don't work, what are you gonna live upon? It's very expensive to live in the United States as well.
Yes.
And lots of things, like aspects you have said, I can identify with, and many of my family members can identify themselves as well.
But what are they doing? What do people do? They identify with certain issues, but then they're
Sitting down,
doing nothing.
laying their backs.
So when are we going to do something? You know, we're talking about the sleeping giant, the this, the that. But when are we going to do something about it? You know, let's take, for example, what happened with Israel and, you know, Hamas and all that. You've seen how in New York City there were demonstrations. People nowadays, they don't demonstrate anymore. But there are certain groups, there are certain cultures that are used to that, and that they know the effectiveness of actually raising their voices, going and demonstrating and doing something. What do we do? What do Latinos do? When are we going to say, let's stand up and do something? And we have to end it here, because I can't talk no more. We have to do something. I am still willing to participate, but I cannot take the lead. Someone else has to, because it has to come from you. It has to come from every Gen Z and millennials and everyone above me, or below me, I'm sorry, but below me, that can say, yes, we want to do it. And we will grow, and we will have the power. We have the numbers, we're not using it. So let's go, 1, 2, to the millions.
Yes, that's very true. And many people are even insensitive to this topic, even knowing what's going on, because now we're exposed to social media, and social media basically shows us everything that's going on in all parts of the world. And especially people my age as well. We know that many people my age, it's very rare to find one individual, let's say my age in like the 20s, that isn't involved in social media or doesn't even see what's going on, something in news related. And on that note, thank you for listening to our podcast. If you are still interested in listening about more perspectives and opinions, please subscribe to our channel and also follow our social media. Thank you.